everybody. So we're so excited to be here. This is our second episode of Animated News, where we talk about the biggest news in the world of animation. And we had a really good time the first time. And this time I have two guests. I'm Rachel, and we have my friend Adam is here again to talk with us. Adam, you want to say hi?
Hey guys, my name is Adam. I go under the alias Animated Antic. I am an animated movie critic that writes reviews for my own website as well as Letterboxd, and I also do video essays on animation on my own YouTube channel.
Yeah, and we'll have links for all of that in the description section. Make sure you check that out. And then we also have Jonathan North is here.
Hello, I'm Jonathan. I write for the Rotoscopers along with Rachel, and I also have a YouTube channel.
Yeah. So thank you so much, you guys, for joining me to talk about these news. I wasn't even expecting that we would necessarily meet again so quickly, but there was just so much. I was like, well, we better talk. It was just a busy week and a half, really, since we last met. So it's going to be fun. We have about, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. We have 8 topics that we're going to be talking about, and look forward to your guys' insight into them. And so we're going to start out by talking about the box office. So we have 2 animated films that have been released into the box office in North America. And we had the opening weekend for Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation. It made $44 million in its opening weekend, which was ahead of expectations. And what do you think, Jonathan, about this this opening weekend for Hotel Transylvania 3?
I'm glad to hear it because I went to see it and I thought it was the best of the 3.
Uh-huh.
It's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's enough movies that are made like Hotel Transylvania. So I'm glad to see that this one is doing well just because it's not afraid to be unashamedly silly.
Uh-huh.
Most animated movies today feel like they have to, like, I don't know, have all these heartfelt messages or whatever. And this one is just, it's a cartoon and it doesn't apologize for it. And I really liked that about it.
Yeah. I actually also agree with you that I think it is the best of the 3. I think that the first one was just a little too messy. It's amazing it's as good as it is given what had happened with the production. And then the second one, for me, I felt like it didn't use the ensemble cast very well, and so you didn't get to see enough of characters like Eunice and Frank and things like that. And I felt like this one did a better job of using all of those ensemble characters, and I thought it was pretty funny. The ending music battle I thought was very funny.
I loved the ending battle with the Kraken.
Yeah.
That was so good.
That was great.
That was very funny. I thought it really paid off. And yeah, and Gendy, the director, Gendy Tartakovsky, said that he says, I don't want animation to mimic reality. I want to push reality. And so, yeah, I mean, that's definitely his philosophy, is doing something that's a sort of absurdist, something that's a little crazy. I think it's not like, I wouldn't say it's a great movie. Like, I wouldn't expect to see it come Oscar time or whatever, but I thought it was enjoyable. I've actually seen it twice because I was just so hot and needed to get out of my house, and so I went and saw it again. And I enjoyed it again. The villain is the big problem. The villain is terrible. I hated the villain.
Yeah, same.
And you didn't even need the villain. Like, really, I think that Drac dating again and them all going down this cruise, they could have little adventures. Like, that's enough. Like, that's enough drama and story, I think. I don't even understand why they had a villain.
Yeah.
Well, they needed to have that big ending battle with the Kraken, and that couldn't have happened without the villain. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but you'd have to have
Yeah.
jokes. But he was pretty cringy, I thought, as a character.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was too bad.
I actually agree with Rachel. I did not like the villain at all. I thought he was completely unnecessary to the story, especially when you take into consideration that the last two movies didn't really have a villain. I don't consider Bella from the second movie a villain. That was just an interference, to be honest. But yeah, the villain did not work. But as far as my thoughts on Hotel Transylvania 3, I also really liked it. I did not think it was the best. I actually thought 2 was the best of the 3, and I thought 1 was the weakest because I thought it was only decent but not great. And and 2 and 3 I'd actually watch again. I also do agree with you, Rachel. It is a good movie. It's not a great one by any means. It's probably not going to get any Oscar nominations, but it was definitely a fun time. And yeah, I just really liked how silly and fun it was as a cartoon, basically.
Yeah. Well, what's really impressive too is the Incredibles 2 got number 4 at the box office this weekend, and they made $24 million, and they took a big chunk, I think, out of Ant-Man and the Wasp's second weekend because they had a pretty Ant-Man and the Wasp had a 61% drop, which is pretty high. Usually you're hoping for 50 to 55% drop. So 61 is pretty high considering it's not like it started out. Like it's, of course you have a 60% drop when you're making like, you know, $200 million opening weekend or something like that. Then yeah, you're going to have a 60% drop, but it didn't have that kind of opening weekend. And I think a big part of that is because you have another, in my opinion, superior superhero movie in theaters right now with The Incredibles 2. And I'm sorry, I misspoke when I said it made $24 million. That was Skyscraper. Incredibles 2 made $16 million this last weekend. And yeah, and so it's made a total gross of $535 million, which is really impressive. And actually, down to the very day, it's made 541. And that's just domestic. Worldwide, it's made $864 million. So that's really good for Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
And I think it deserves it. I think it's a really good movie. I think what makes Incredibles 2 special is that it has all of the elements of a great superhero movie, but then it also, in my opinion, is a treatise about how hard it is to be a parent. I think that's the main message. And it's not like a really hit you in your gut kind of message. It's a little bit more of a subtle message than some other Pixar movies. But just like the scene where Violet lets her dad sleep. Like that scene was, I think, saying a lot there. Or even with Edna and that saying, you know, parenting is the most, when done well, is the most heroic act you can do. So I really liked that a lot. And yeah, so I'm glad that's doing so well.
Yeah, me too. It deserves it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the news trailer. We did have one new trailer this week. We had the trailer for the film Wonder Park. And this is being released by Paramount. And I actually liked the trailer. I feel like I'm a little more forgiving to this style of sort of medium grade CGI animation that other people just really hate. Son of Bigfoot, I actually loved it. I thought it was really good. I thought the animation was good. I thought that the story was good. I thought the music was good. I really liked it. And I don't know, but some people see this kind of level of animation and immediately kind of discount it. So I feel like I sometimes want to kind of root for them a little bit because I think there's some good stuff in there and there's some creativity and it looked like it had potential to be okay to me. It was an okay trailer, I thought. What did you think, Adam?
It seems interesting to me. It definitely has a very unique style to it, but I'm going to be very cautious with this movie. This is a film that had a very troubled production. Its director was fired earlier in the year, and it was pushed back a lot. I think this was initially supposed to be released in 2017, then it got pushed to this year, and then it got pushed to 2019. And I'm really cautious about this movie because some animated movies can work even with troubled production histories, like Toy Story 2, for instance. That film was made in almost the final film that was made in almost 8 months. And this film could either turn out to be pretty good or a mess. And I'm just really scared by it. As far as the trailer goes, it looks pretty good, I'm guessing. I think my only problem with it is that it has that slow cover of a old song. In this case, it was What a Wonderful World. It's just like that's something that's gotten to me. They did that last year with A Wrinkle in Time, where Sweet Dreams Are Made of These.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
It gets old. It's so old when you have this song cover. It's just sung slowly and dramatically by a female voice. I think it's just old. It's a pet peeve that's driving me crazy.
That's a good point. I do agree with you 100% there. Like, that is such a cliche. Like, you're not more sort of indie and cool just because you sing like "Hit Me with the Best Shot" in a minor key slow. Like, that's not. That doesn't make it all like deep and meaningful. Yeah, I agree. What did you think of this, Jonathan?
I was not really impressed by it at all.
Yeah.
I thought some of the animation looked good, but everything else was just like painfully mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I probably will not see this in theaters unless it gets like amazing reviews. I'll wait and see what you think about it and then decide. Yeah, it looked very made for children. It didn't look like there was anything in there for an adult animation fan besides some of the animation looked good. The song was, I mean, I don't have a problem with cover songs in trailers, but the song did not fit what was going on. It was like this slow, epic song about something amazing, and it was a bunch of animals building a theme park. So the song it didn't fit to me. It made it feel like they were trying to manipulate you into thinking this was going to be an epic movie, and then everything on screen was not really that epic. It was very cookie cutter.
I think they were trying to be like, "Ooh, it's full of wonder." Like, so the song is like wonder. What a wonderful world, you know. So I get why they did it, but yeah, I agree. The song was not great.
Yeah, that was not a great choice. It reminded me a lot of the trailer for Smallfoot. I have no idea why they chose "Don't Stop Believing" for the last trailer of Smallfoot. Like, when I heard that, I'm like, why is this song playing in the trailer? It makes no sense.
But I've liked those trailers though. I feel like that movie looks pretty funny to me.
Yeah, I said that in one of my trailer reactions. I said I think it looks pretty good, but the song choice was really questionable.
Yeah, that's fair.
The song maybe it's a play on believing in Bigfoot. I mean, they're Yetis, but I mean, Yetis and Bigfoots are basically the same thing, except one lives in the snow. That's what I was thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I had, and that's what I had thought. That's what I was thinking too, in a way, but I don't know.
It's a reach. Let's agree.
Yeah.
I think most trailer songs are a reach. They're just trying to find something that'll fit the footage, and it doesn't always work.
Yeah, but the Coco one just boggles my mind still to this day, because you have a movie with music, with original songs that won an Oscar. Why on earth would you have the
Bittersweet
Symphony, which isn't even Latin? Like, it makes no sense.
What? That was very questionable too.
It's not even about a guitar player. It's a symphony. Like, it made no sense. I was like, what?
Every time I hear that song, I think of Cruel Intentions.
I found the marketing for Coco to be baffling. So you could just tell it was such a good movie because it was able to withstand the terrible marketing campaign, in my opinion. Anyway. Yeah. So okay, good. Well, let's hope that that it's decent. Let's talk about our next story. We have a Steven Universe story. We have a character in Steven Universe that proposed. It's a same-sex proposal. So Jonathan, I think you know the most about this. You watched the show.
Hmm.
Can you tell us a little about what happened?
Yeah, it wasn't just a proposal. They had a marriage as well. Like
Okay.
the proposal happened 2 episodes later. There was a wedding.
Okay.
The only thing is, it's not this. It's not exactly what people think it is because of the way the show is written. And I mean, I'm glad that Steven Universe gets to like go into the history books and such. But this is a show about aliens, and the aliens have been specifically said many times that they are genderless, and I think that's why Cartoon Network is okay with airing this. I think if it was humans, I don't think that Cartoon Network would be as easily swayed into putting this on TV
Interesting. Okay.
because the gems they they use human, well, female pronouns, but they're not, they don't have genders. They grow out of the ground. They're rocks. So I think that that's why this is being allowed to be put on TV. But if it wasn't, if it was humans, I don't think they would have had such an easy time getting it on TV.
The creator, I guess, or one of the creators of this episode, I don't know, Rebecca Sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the creator of the show itself.
Okay. She says, we absolutely must tell LGBTQ children that they belong in this world and they deserve to be loved. We cannot wait until a child grows up to tell them they deserve to exist and that their story matters. I'm overwhelmed with emotion thinking of the years of tireless work from all of us on the crew leading up to this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I think I think that that's part of the reason that technically the gems are genderless, because I feel like people are more open to accepting a story like this if they have the caveat that, well, they're not really two people of the same gender getting married. It's two aliens who are genderless getting married. So, I mean, to a kid, and she wants kids who are in the LGBT community to be okay with themselves. So to a little kid, they're just going to see two, I mean, they look like two little kids, the two aliens that got married. I feel weird calling them aliens. They're gems. But if somebody's listening, they don't know what the gems are, they're from outer space. They're from another planet. They do look like two little kids. Ruby and Sapphire look like little kids. And them in the show, the characters fuse to form a new character, and Ruby and Sapphire, for almost the entire duration of the show, have been fused to be a different character named Garnet, who Ruby and Sapphire look like little kids. Garnet looks like a very tall woman who leads the team. But there was an episode, a few episodes ago, there was like a massive revelation. They had a big fight. They split apart into their two smaller forms and went their separate ways for a while. And after working through their emotional problems, Steven Universe is all about working through emotional problems. Ruby decided that she missed Sapphire too much to be apart from her forever, and decided to propose and refuse back into Garnet.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Adam, do you watch this show at all?
I haven't watched it in a while because of Cartoon Network's delaying and stuff, so I basically grew out of it. So when I found this out, I was actually really surprised and happy to see that they're continuing to embrace this, because Steven Universe really did make a lot of animation television history with its LGBTQ themes in it. And yeah, seeing this same-sex marriage between Ruby and Sapphire does really make me happy, and it's basically showing what a great show Steven Universe is. So yeah, I haven't seen it a lot lately because of the delays. So
Right. I've watched a couple episodes, but I just didn't have time to. And
It's one of those shows where if you start at the beginning, you probably aren't going to get into it too easily. But if you keep with it, you're going to get hooked because the show just keeps getting better and better and better, and more important and interesting storylines get added. It's a totally different show now than what it was when it began, and it's all the better for it. It's one of the best animated series on TV right now, at least in terms of like sci-fi storytelling. If you want like a cartoon, I would go for Gumball. But as far as like narrative storylines, Steven Universe is one of the best.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, my favorite is Star versus the Forces of Evil, and
that one's really good too.
Here that they had
good.
I guess a gay kiss on Star versus the Forces of Evil.
That one's another one where they did it in such a way so that they could get away with it. It happened within a large scene of tons and tons of people kissing. So unless you're looking for it,
notice that.
Yeah, unless you're looking for it, you're not going to see it. So they got away with it by hiding it. And
Which is kind of ridiculous. I feel like you can do these kinds of characters and stories, and it doesn't have to be a statement, and it doesn't have to be, like it can just be there. And I mean, because that's
what I like about Steven Universe is they don't make things like that into a statement.
Yeah.
And I guess part of it is helped by the fact that the gems are technically genderless. So there's like no reason to make a big deal out of it because they don't see gender. Like that quote that I was talking about before, Rebecca Sugar has said, the gems do not even think of themselves as women, but they don't mind that humans interpret them in that way. Okay. So they have a completely different mindset about, well, gender, because gender doesn't exist on their planet. They're just rocks.
Right. Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, I think that should be encouraged. I think it's kind of silly that we're still running from it so much. I mean, come on. Okay. Well, let's move on. So we have a new series that is coming to Netflix. Called The Dragon Prince. By the creator of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And it says here that I guess they made an announcement at Comic-Con. New animated series about two human princes who forge an unlikely bond with the elfin assassin sent to kill them, embarking on an epic quest to bring peace to their warring lands. So, Adam, what do you think about this idea?
So I'm just going to correct you on this. This is not from either of the creators of Avatar. This is actually from the head writer of the show.
Oh, sorry.
And this is actually a very huge project. Not only is Aaron Ahas, who wrote Avatar: The Last Airbender, is doing it, he's also being done by Justin Richmond, who directed the Naughty Dog game Uncharted 3, and another person who worked on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Giancarlo Volpe, is executive producing it. So this is going to be a huge thing, and I'm actually really excited for it. I think Avatar: The Last Airbender is probably the best thing Nickelodeon has ever done, and that is saying a lot, considering, and I know a lot of people consider SpongeBob their best cartoon. I don't. Avatar is probably their best because how emotionally complex it is and how really good it is with the action, not including the live action movie, that is. And this is actually going to be a very interesting show. I'm excited to see what's going to be happening in the show. So there's not a lot. It said that this 8 animated series for kids and families, it centers on two princesses who befriend an elfin assassin sent to kill them, and then they embark on an epic quest to get their lands to get to peace. That's what it says.
I mean, the description doesn't appeal to me a ton because I'm just not that big of a fantasy person. So I don't know. I kind of would have to talk to people and find out if it's really good. I haven't watched all of Avatar because I just haven't had time, but I have liked what I've seen. I I'm just very, very a tough sell when it comes to fantasy. A lot of fantasy bores me so much. So that's my head, but that's just my own personal taste. It certainly sounds like something that could be interesting and be successful for sure. What do you think, Jonathan?
I'm excited based probably solely on the pedigree of the people working on it.
Yeah.
I like fantasy, but not all fantasy is created equal. So if somebody just told me the description, I would say I needed to see something from it before I decided if I wanted to see it or not. But just based on who's working on it, I think it's probably going to be good.
Yeah. The next item we have to discuss is the Emmy nominations. So this was pretty exciting. This is the Primetime Emmy Awards. Came out with their nominations, and there are several animated categories. We have voiceover performance. We have for American Dad, Seth MacFarlane as Stan Smith and Roger Smith. We have Family Guy, Nanny Goats, and this is Alex Borstein as Lois Griffin, and then a couple other people that she voices, and then another Family Guy, Send in Stewie, that's Seth MacFarlane as Stewie. The Scariest Story Ever, Mickey Mouse Halloween Spectacular. We have Russi Taylor as Huey, Louie, and a bunch of other characters. And then Simpsons, Fears of a Clown. And this is Dan Castellaneta as Homer. So good day for Fox.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if Disney does buy Fox, they're going to have all the nominees.
That's true. Good point. Yeah. I mean, it is amazing that The Simpsons still plucking away the Emmys all these years. It's pretty incredible. I mean, I would have, yeah, well, in all of them, it would have been nice to have seen, like, say, an Eden Shear for Star Wars: The Forces of Evil. She's so great in that. There's so many that. Do we really need to nominate Seth MacFarlane twice?
Yeah, that was questionable. That's really.
I was wondering, like, why do they have so many from Family Guy? Like, there's so many good animated series around. Why get them all from the same, not just the same show, but the same network, but still.
Yeah.
I was glad to see that Russi Taylor was in there. I hope she wins.
I do too.
I haven't actually seen that episode, but I do like that Mickey Mouse cartoon show.
I do too.
And does Russi Taylor have an Emmy? I feel like she needs one. She's been at this so long. She deserves something.
I think, Russi Taylor is probably one of the greatest voice actresses who's lived. I've always loved her performances. Minnie Mouse. And I actually think that her performance of Huey, Dewey, and Louie I actually like it better than the new actors who perform on the DuckTales reboot. I don't hate them, but I always had this pet peeve of when adult males play what are essentially young boys.
Right.
I would have preferred it if they've actually gotten real kids, or heck, bring back Russi Taylor, or heck, even Tony Anselmo, the voice of Donald Duck, because in the old cartoons, Huey and Dewey Louie actually sounded like Donald.
Well,
it turns out that it turns out that Russi actually has not won an Emmy yet. She was nominated twice, back in 2006 and 2007. So,
yeah, I
hope she wins this time.
Yeah, same here.
Me too. I mean, because there were just so many great vocal performances for Star Wars Rebels. There's so many good shows that had great vocals. So I don't know. It seems like a little bit of a like. I mean, nobody loves The Simpsons more than me, but Dan Clef's. I mean, come on. So there we go. That's that. There you go. So outstanding animated program. We have Big Hero 6, the series. We have Bob's Burgers, Rick and Morty, The Simpsons, and South Park. These are all very predictable. I mean, I guess it's good that Rick and Morty got nominated because they weren't nominated last year, and they deserved it because it was really well done. But I mean, a lot of people were mad about BoJack Horseman not getting nominated. I don't watch that show, but I know a lot of people were frustrated about that. And I don't know. It just seems like this is such a predictable group of nominees. What do you think, Jonathan?
If I had to pick one, I haven't watched Big Hero 6 yet. It's on my list of shows that I need to watch. So I can't say whether I like it or not. I've heard good things.
Yeah.
If I were to pick one of this list, I would probably pick Bob's Burgers because I really like Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty, I don't know how I feel about Rick and Morty. I think it's such a smart show and I enjoy how creative it is, but every time I watch it, I don't know, it doesn't make me feel happy. It makes me feel depressed, and it's like it has such a negative outlook on life, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the people who write it are geniuses, but it's just
It is a
it's not.
very cynical show for
Yeah,
sure.
and I feel like I always try to be such an optimist, and it's hard to be an optimist watching Rick and Morty. It's not a bad show. It's not in all the ways that I want a show to be good. It doesn't have those qualities. So
Mhm.
I like Bob's
Yeah.
Burgers because it's sometimes it's cynical, but it's usually a lot more upbeat, and it has fun characters, and they always have music that like really well done music. It's a lot more fun to watch for like an adult cartoon.
Mhm.
Bob's Burgers is my favorite.
I just wish that Bob's Burgers was funnier, though. I just watch it and I get kind of bored. It just doesn't. It's cute and I get the appeal and everything, but like for me personally, I just don't think it's funny. And I know that humor is super subjective, but yeah, it's true with Rick and Morty. I think I cannot binge watch Rick and Morty. Like I'll
No, I
watch
never
two
can
episodes.
binge watch.
Two
Nope.
episodes is
One or
about
two at
all it.
most.
Yeah. But it is brilliant, and it is the one I would pick out of these as being the most creative. Certainly the animation is the best, and I don't know, it's what I would pick. But what about you, Adam, about these nominees?
It's very interesting, I guess. I really don't know though. It's big. The Rick and Morty episode that's been nominated question is called Pickle Rick, and
Yeah.
I there's actually somebody I know that really hates this episode. And when it comes to my taste with the show, I don't know. It looks it's smart, I guess. It has them, but man, whatever. But geez, that fan base is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, the fan base. The fan base has ruined so many shows.
Yeah.
I recently watched part of season 3. Season 3 is the one where like the fan base started getting really weird, and like there was all those news stories about the Szechuan sauce at McDonald's.
Oh, jeez.
There was like 2 mentions in one episode. Like, why did that blow up? I was shocked at how little it was in the episode. I thought it was like going to be like a main plot point based on the fan reaction to it. It was like 2 mentions in one episode, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like, why did people go insane over that?
I don't know.
I-
It's like I it's kind of crazy too how much it's blown up. Because the thing just started off as dipping sauce that was made to promote Milan back in 1998, and then the
Mhm.
creators just found out, they put it in their show. It was only a few references, and bam, it just goes nuts over the internet. But I think this was in the first episode of the 3rd season, which
Mhm.
took everybody by surprise because it was an April Fool's thing. But I really have no idea how it blew up into that huge thing.
Yeah, I don't either. It was strange.
Yeah, it really was. I don't know. Did they do something on social media that like did they made them do that, or?
I don't know.
It could be. I don't know. I don't follow the show on social media. I just watch it sometimes on Hulu. I'm not a big enough fan to like follow all the social medias and everything.
Yeah. Well, so there you go. That's the nominees. And so then we had short form animated program, which I guess I'm not really sure the difference between. I mean, obviously, I guess they're shorter. I don't know. But I'm not sure exactly what the difference is between the
I think
categories.
I think the list was all like 11-minute shows instead of 30-minute shows.
Yeah, because animated program was probably duration of a half an hour show, and short animated form is just technically a segment, one of the segments of
So Steven
the
Universe
show.
is an 11. It's a
Yes.
2 episode. I
Yes.
didn't realize that. Okay. All right. So the nominees for this one are this category are Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Teen Titans Go, and We Bear Bears. And I am so happy for We Bear Bears because that show is great. It's
That show is just so positive, and
yes.
that one makes me feel how that's like a palate cleanser from Rick and Morty. If you like get depressed watching Rick and Morty, go watch We Bear Bears.
Yes.
You'll feel so much better.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's so funny too. It's
Yes.
hilarious. It's sweet. It's funny. It's delightful. The animation is delightful. It should have more fans. It's a great show, I think.
Yeah, I love that show. I've gotten my cousins into it. We watch it whenever there's new episodes on Hulu.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's so much fun. It's so cute. It's so uplifting. It just makes you happy when you watch it, and that's how I want to be watching when I'm watching a cartoon. I want to be happy. I don't want to be sitting in misery weeping over humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of these nominees, Adam?
I think it's a very interesting thing because all the nominees, every single one of them, is distributed by a Cartoon Network. Every single one. Robot Chicken's on Adult Swim, which is basically the adult side of Cartoon Network. So I find it very interesting, but nevertheless, I am really happy with these nominees, especially We Bear Bears.
Right? Yay!
Yeah.
Which they were for specific episodes, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like, did it say which ones they were?
Yeah. Yeah, for the Adventure Time, it's Ring of Fire. For Robot Chicken, it's Freshly Baked, the Robot Chicken Santa Claus Pot Cookie Freakout Special Edition. For Steven Universe, it's Jungle Moon. For the Teen Titans Go, it's the Self-Indulgent 200 Episodes Spectaculars Part 1 and 2. And for We Bear Bears, it's Hurricane Hal.
Okay, I haven't seen that episode of We Bear Bears. I have seen the episodes of Steven Universe and Adventure Time, though. I would say both of those deserve it in their own way because they're both good episodes. The Adventure Time episode was weird, like really weird, but I really liked how weird it was. And Steven Universe Jungle Moon, that one was good in a totally different way from the rest of the series. It was basically Stevani, the fusion of Steven and Connie, went to a planet by themselves, and it was basically them having to survive on this planet on their own. And yeah, it was totally different than the rest of the show. I loved the animation and the character design for all the creatures that were on this planet. It deserves something for the creativity of that episode alone. I don't know which one I'd vote for because I really liked that one, and I think We Bear Bears deserves something, even though I haven't seen that episode. I want them to win just because I like the show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would pick We Bear Bears just because I just love it. It's so funny. And this would be the last. I wonder if Adventure Time will win just because it's their last one.
It could be.
Yeah.
So there were a couple other nominees. Star Wars Rebels got nominated under Children's Program, which is a little strange. I mean, I know it's on Disney XD, but still, it's kind of weird. There's Children's Program is a series of unfortunate events. Alexa and Katie, Fuller House, Star Wars Rebels, and the Magical Wand Chase, a Sesame Street special. It's a really odd mixture of stuff.
That one would be hard for me to decide because I love a series of unfortunate events, but I also love Star Wars Rebels. And I feel like is it weird that Fuller House is on there? Like Fuller House, I would not call that a kid's show. Like
yeah, it's a
I've watched it, and I don't know that I'd let little kids watch it. It has a bunch of adult jokes in it.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids probably wouldn't get it, but it does not seem like a children's television program.
Yeah, I watched the first season and I actually enjoyed it, and then the second season I was like, I'm not into it. I just don't have time.
It's really cheesy, and I don't know if it seems cheesier than the original because the original.
I didn't mind.
I watched it when I was younger.
I didn't mind the cheesiness. That wasn't my problem. I just I don't know. I can't even remember anymore why I didn't like season 2. I didn't like season 2. I liked season 1. But yeah, I don't have time these days to watch anything that I'm not like really interested in that I'm not podcasting about.
I should adopt that because a lot of times I'll stick out a show just because I've started it and I feel like I need to see it through. I need to adopt your way of looking at things.
Yeah. Oh, I've been that way for years, actually. Like, I was super into Glee for like 2 years, and then like they did this horrible Britney Spears episode that was just like that all it was like a whole bunch of music videos. There was no like plot at all. And it was just like, we're just going to have a dream sequence where we sing all these songs. And I was like, this is so lame. I'm done with the show. And I never watched another episode of the show. So I that's how I do TV, unfortunately. It's the Emmys. That's all we have to say about that. All right. So we have a couple other stories. We have a new story about Don Bluth. Our friend Don Bluth returns to Disney Studios after 40 years, and he get this big tour. And yeah, I mean, I guess the big hope is that he's there for a reason, for a project of some kind. Is that the hope?
It seemed like the article was insinuating something along those lines, but they never actually come out and say it.
Yeah.
Like, the way the headline was worded seemed like really leading, and then there was a line in there about something happening that they might talk about later, and then the last line of the article, I think, was talking about something like something else was they would talk more about it in the future.
Yeah, it says once we finished visiting Walt Disney's office, we had a few very important things left to do, but we'll save that for another time. So, ooh.
It seemed like they were leading on to something and they weren't going to say what. So I don't know if this is actually going to turn into anything. I would like it to, because Don Bluth hasn't really made anything, at least to my knowledge, recently. And
yeah,
he used to work at Disney before there was some falling out thing. I don't know exactly what happened, but it would be nice to get him back in with the company and make something again. Because he has a really creative mind. It would be nice to see something else from him.
Yeah. The reason that Bluth left the company in 1979 was because he thought the work was getting stale. He thought the animation was getting cheaper and not very professional up to the original Disney standards. Because his last film he worked on before he left the company was Fox and the Hound, but he was left uncredited for that. But his last credited project at Disney was The Rescuers.
Yeah.
And if you look at that movie, you could see it is. I like it, but I don't love it.
Sloppy.
If you look, especially when you look at Milt Kahll's animation for Madame Medusa, it is so sloppy and sketchy. They clearly did not learn to use cleanup animation yet. They just Xeroxed it onto the cell.
Yeah.
And another thing that I really don't like about the animation for Rescuers is Bernard and Bianca having no eyes. It was just their fur. And when you look at the original pencil tests, you can clearly see the animators drew eyes in and they just painted them over. And there's sometimes they have eyes, like very rare occurrences, and there's sometimes they're not. And then Bluth was getting frustrated with that and he left in the company. And you're right when he said he hasn't been doing anything. He hasn't made a movie in 20 years. He said he was going to be working on a Dragon's Lair movie 3 years ago. He launched an Indiegogo for that. Yeah, he launched an Indiegogo for that, and it got successfully funded. But I have not heard anything from it yet, and maybe we'll see some stuff soon. But in terms of the photos, I was actually really happy to see Bluth back at the Disney studio with him meeting Ron Clements and Mark Henn and Steven Anderson, the director of Winnie the Pooh and Meet the Robinsons, and Bernie Mattinson, who recently just got an award for being the oldest, longest worker at the Disney studios. Did you guys see that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Bernie Mattinson. He directed Great Mouse Detective and Mickey's Christmas Carol. and he was a story artist that's still working at the company. I think he's actually working on Wreck-It Ralph 2 at the moment. Yeah, but seeing this was interesting. He actually had, one of the things I did pick up from these photos, he had a guest badge on. So it's probably I'm guessing he was probably visiting it, but from the way the article's written, I am very interested in seeing where this is leading.
It was a very leading article. Yeah, I think that I think it was a good thing in the end. I don't really like the way that he left, like taking all this talent with him and like leaving them right in the middle of, because it's a big reason why the Black Cauldron was such a nightmare. It was all these people leaving, and it was such a mess. But
the Black Cauldron was a mess in general.
Yeah, I mean, a mess on so many levels. But I feel like he could have, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like from what I've read that he could have left in a little bit of a better way. But I think in the end it was a good thing, because if it hadn't been for the Secret of Nim and American Tail, Land Before Time, these kind of things really putting a jolt back into the company, we might not have had their renaissance. There's something about having a competitor that, I think is a good thing. And it helps make your best work.
Yeah. It also seems that Bluth has actually gotten back on good terms with Disney, not just because of these photos. He did say in an interview I saw with him and Gary Goldman, he actually said that he did like Tangled.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the leadership at Disney has changed a lot since he was there, and their techniques have changed so much. Like I don't hate the movies from the time he was working on them, but they have improved so much since then. And I feel like if that was his problem with the company, he's got to know that they're doing better now.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. When Ron Miller was still in charge of Walt Disney Productions, there was a lot of disagreements, and not only did it result in him leaving, it actually temporarily resulted in Roy E. Disney leaving, and that brought in Eisner, and then that led to Peter Schneider being brought in. And Katzenberg. And when Katzenberg was brought in, that even caused more chaos for the Black Cauldron, because he wanted it edited. And they're like, you can't edit a movie. I remember that from Waking Sleeping Beauty. Have you seen that documentary, Waking Sleeping Beauty?
No, I need to. I have it. Yeah, I know.
It's a very good documentary.
Yeah. So we will see. So the next story that we have to talk about is, to me, very depressing story.
Yeah.
We're talking about a live action Rugrats story. So this is a relaunching the iconic Rugrats with a new show and live action film, which, oh my gosh, it sounds like a nightmare. Viacom announced it was reviving the series with 26 episodes for Nickelodeon, and the movie is set to release in 2020. And I mean, every movie with talking babies, except for the first Look Who's Talking, has been atrocious and terrible and horrible, because they try to make the babies into adults, and that's not funny to me. That's like creepy and weird, and I don't like it. But the Rugrats, they did a good job of still keeping them babies. Like, maybe except for Angelica, like they still were little. They still were little kids, and they still were like innocent, and most of the plots were about their, sort of friendships and getting hurt and things like that, rather than, and then in the movie, the Rugrats movies, they did kind of go on adventures and stuff, but they weren't really mini adults, I don't think. I think they were still little kids, which is, I think, what made it charming and engaging. But it's just creepy to have a baby live action that's like talking. It doesn't, no. What do you think, Adam?
I'll just get this out of the way. This is a terrible, terrible idea. Like, You know, I'm fine with the show being rebooted in animation just to introduce into a fresh new audience and things like that. But the idea of making a Rugrats movie in live action CGI is so stupid. It's just, ugh. When I think of it, it just reminds me of a movie called Baby Geniuses. It was a
Yeah.
movie made
Gosh.
in 19 I'm sorry, I can't do this without laughing. It was a movie made in 1999 by Bob Clark.
I
And
saw it, and I saw it at a drive-through, and
oh,
like when you're at a drive-through, you'll like watch practically anything because you're just like at the drive-through, and it was painful to watch at the drive-through.
oh. And one scene
I thought you were going to say you drove away.
I should have.
Oh, God.
I was like, "What is this?"
The worst scene of that movie was when one of the babies just dresses up in Saturday Night Fever outfit,
Ugh.
and they clearly photoshopped this baby's face onto a little person's body, and it looked so bad that it reminded me of a little thing that happened on America's Funniest Home Videos where they took the host's face and just put it on one of the people in the home videos. That's what it reminded me of.
It's so terrible. I don't understand why this is. I don't know. There's so many things you could make movies about. Why this? But I don't know. What do you think, Jonathan?
I still don't know. I think I can see why they'd want to reboot the show, and
Yeah.
I would be interested to see what a modern day Rugrats would be like. I don't know if I think it's going to be good or not. I guess I'll have to wait and see. But a live action movie, I don't know. Like, how are they going to do the babies? Like the babies, like all the characters in that show, they were drawn, and I'm not saying this because it's my opinion. They were drawn specifically to not look attractive. They, like the creators have said, they didn't want to make them cute.
Yeah.
They wanted to make them look like a little ugly. Like they were kind of, to me, they were kind of cute in an ugly way or ugly in a cute way. So it was sort of like a mix of ugly and cute. Like, and if you turn, it worked as a 2D cartoon. It worked as something that has been drawn. But I feel like if you turn that into a CGI creation, it's going to look monstrous.
Yeah.
And I'm just afraid of what it's going to look like. Like maybe somebody can do it well, but I'll believe it when I see it because I think it sounds like it's going to be a train wreck.
Yeah, I do too. And most of my friends, I've seen them, they said this is a bad idea. Like a lot of them have been thinking of this is just going to be another Baby Geniuses. Some have even compared it to Baby's Day Out. I'm like, when I think of Baby's Day Out, I think of the Baby Herman cartoons from Who
But at
Framed
least
Roger
Baby's
Rabbit.
Day Out, it doesn't talk. The baby doesn't talk.
I know, but
Like
yeah,
that's better. Like if
it's better.
like it's still not great, but like if you're gonna make a baby movie, like at least don't. It's so creepy to have an adult voice coming out of a baby. Like the only reason it sort of works in Look Who's Talking is that they don't actually have the Bruce Willis voice coming out of. It's just like narration, and so it's a little better. But like when you have a little baby and you have voice talking, adult talking out of it, it looks so weird.
It is weird, and it just doesn't match. Like I seriously have no idea what they think they're doing with this. Then again, some of the Nickelodeon movies they've been making are questionable.
Yeah.
I still don't know why they're making a Dora movie with Michael Bay behind it. That is just a ridiculous
Making her
idea.
a teenager, that makes me so annoyed.
Ugh. It just reminds me of
I
that
don't know
college.
who that movie's going to be for.
I don't either.
That's what I think.
Exactly.
Who's this
Nicholas
movie
Stoller's
for?
writing that, so I don't know.
What?
It's
The show is Dora is so brilliant for little children, the way it gets them to interact with the screen and talk, and so I'm bummed that I don't know. It's frustrating. But anyway, let's move on. So our final story is we animated film coming out from Warner Brothers about Wizard of Oz, but it's from the dog Toto's perspective. It's a book, Toto the Doggone Amazing Story of the Wizard of Oz. The Doggone Amazing Story of the Wizard of Oz. And yeah, so this will be written by Mark Burton, who wrote Early Man, Shaun the Sheep, so he's an Aardman guy. It's unknown if the animated film will be drawn in the style of Emma Clark's illustrations for the book, but it'll feature a talking Toto. No director has been named. So this is just an announced project. A lot of these announced projects don't end up actually happening, but we will see what happens. I am not very high on this just because I think that pretty much every time that we've tried to go back to Oz, it just hasn't worked. It just hasn't been good. And a lot of times it's been really awful. And the last animated Return to Oz was terrible.
Oh,
and,
Legends of Oz.
Yeah, it was
that was
bad.
That was so boring and forgettable.
Yeah.
I saw that movie 6 months ago and I've already forgotten it.
Yeah, it was awful. And I do not like Return to Oz. I do not like that boredom one with James Franco. Oh, I do not like I like the songs from The Wiz, but I don't like the movie. Just none of the attempts I don't think have worked at all. And so yeah, for me, I'm pretty skeptical when it comes to this project personally. It just doesn't seem to be able to work. But what do you think, Adam?
I don't know either. They've tried to do Wizard of Oz movies several times, and I don't think a lot of them have worked. And one person, when I made this, I just found out about this film today. One person made a thing. They said is that the problem with these new Wizard of Oz movies is that they stay too true to the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer movie from 1939, and that the books were basically the earliest world-building novels, and these movies just keep limiting themselves to the original movie.
But even when they try to stick to the book, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't work. Like the Return to Oz, they tried to stick to the book, but it's so mean-spirited and it's so brutal and dark that it's just unpleasant, in my opinion. I know a lot of people, there's a cult following for it. I do not share in that cult.
Neither do I. Siskel and Ebert even criticized it for Dorothy opening up with Dorothy gets electroshocked.
Yeah, like what the heck? Like everybody hates Dorothy. Everyone's miserable. I hated it as a child and I hate it now. And so I don't know. I just think it just doesn't seem to be possible. It's like trying to make another good Terminator movie. It just does not seem to be possible, and I want people to stop trying.
Or making another Grinch. Like,
yeah. I don't know. Do you have hope in this, Jonathan?
This is another one that I'll wait and see because
yeah.
I like the original Wizard of Oz a lot, and I like the books that I've read from the Wizard of Oz. I haven't read them all. There's a lot. There's actually a lot of books.
Yeah.
But as far as versions, I don't mind the Oz one, from a few years ago, the Disney one, the live action one. I don't mind that one. But other than that one, and of course the original, which is a classic, I can't think of any right now that I've actually liked or loved, or have even wanted to see. I take that back. Muppets did a Wizard of Oz, but even that one was good just because it was Muppets, but it was, as an Oz story, it was probably kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
I don't know, but nobody wants to do anything with Oz that's beyond the first book. They just want to keep remaking the original, and there's so many other stories that they could choose from, and they just keep going back to the one that was made in the 30s. And yeah, like Adam said, they keep remaking that one almost. They keep going with everything that was in that movie. And that movie was not very faithful to the book.
Right.
Like there are 4 witches. The shoes were silver, but
Yeah.
everybody wants ruby slippers because they were in the original 1930s
Well,
something movie.
And
And
you also have problems with copyright because I think I don't know who
it's
owns
public. I think the original book is public
well
domain.
the book, but there's things in the movie that they like nobody can like that was a big problem for Disney with their movie is they can't use ruby slippers, they can't use the Yellow Brick Road, all that stuff is like owned by
Turner.
Turner, yeah. And so that's why it is difficult for these other studios, even though it is in the public domain. All the stuff that people are iconic to film goers as being in Oz, they can't use.
They need to just do a more direct adaptation of the books instead of focusing so much on trying to make it. I don't know.
I just
make
feel
it
like
something that people want to see because of the original movie.
I just feel like the Wizard of Oz is lightning in a bottle. It's just one of those things that like it just does not seem to be able to be duplicated. I think that I don't know. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, The Wizard of Oz is just one of those movies that exists in its own world and it can't be duplicated again. And if you're gonna try to do something new, I would just say related to Oz, I would just say start from scratch. Do your own vision. Try not to take any similarities from the original 1939 film. And that's kind of impossible considering that it's probably one of the most influential American movies that's ever been made. It basically was the big boost for Technicolor. It's an important movie
for sure. I mean, in this one, it's obviously going to be pulling from it a lot because it's about Toto. So,
and yeah,
I
Warner
get
Brothers
why people want to duplicate it because it is such an iconic movie and has so many iconic things in it, and that kind of handicaps any film that comes after it because everybody's always going to be comparing it to that one. So they need to make it as distinct as possible. But this new one is probably not going to be that way because it looks like they're going straight along with the movie.
And it seems that Toto is getting a narration, and honestly, that is also not a very good idea. That just seems, and honestly just seems weird to me that Toto gets a narration because it's personally because Dorothy's more the audience character in this situation, not Toto.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be for very, very little children. But then you have to be careful because then it's too scary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so hard because the original, it kept its sense of hope and wonder throughout the whole thing. And I think a lot of that goes to Judy Garland. I think her performance is oddly kind of underrated as far as her acting. When she's, first of all, at the beginning, I think you really immediately feel for her character. And then in the, when she is seeing Aunt Em in the globe, whatever you want to call it, and she's crying out to her, like that's a pretty brutal performance. And I just think it's her sort of heart and weight that she gives to this role that really makes it hopeful, it makes it different. And I know a lot of these others, it's just all about the world building and not about the hope, about the message, about the no place like home, kind of thing that gives the whole movie and you got the whole thing with the wizard. Like there's just a lot of stuff that's really interesting and thoughtful in the original movie that I think that people sort of get lost in the trappings and forget about that like heart and that like core, because that's certainly true with Return to Oz, which is just such a downer.
I think the only thing that I find interesting about Return to Oz was just that Will Vinton worked on it.
Yeah,
and he would later and then he was known for being the guy that created the California Raisins and the Noid, and then next thing you know, his studio was bought by Phil Knight and turned into Leica.
Yeah, that the special effects are pretty good, but I don't know. I mean, I
That's
think the
it.
closest we've probably gotten is probably The Wiz, just because there's some degree of hope with some of the songs, but it's still not a good movie, that's for sure.
No, because I think Joel Schumacher just I don't know what he did.
Yeah, did he do that? I forgot he did that.
Yeah, Joel Schumacher
Anyway,
wrote it. Yeah.
there's just certain franchises that just seem to be kind of toxic. They you just cannot win. Like it just doesn't seem to work, and people need to stop trying. All right. Well, there you go. So that's all of our stories. It's some really good variety, I think. We talked about the box office with Hotel Transylvania 3, Incredibles 2. We talked about the Wonder Park trailer, Steven Universe, same-sex engagement. We have the Netflix Dragon Prince series announced. We had the Emmy nominations. John Bluth touring Disney, live action Rugrats reboot, and the Toto animated Oz movie. So, yeah, lots of good stuff that we talked about. So this was really fun. I really enjoyed it. So, thank you guys for talking about these with me. I really appreciate it. I know we went a little long, so sorry about that. But thank you very much. And so, Adam, how can people find you?
So if you want to find me, I go under the alias Animated Antic, like I mentioned in the opening. I have a Twitter account, which I use a lot. If you want to find me on social media, that's where I'm more often. I do have a Facebook page, but I don't use it as much as Twitter. And if you want to read my movie reviews, I publish them on my own website as well as Letterboxd. And be sure to check out my YouTube channel. I don't post a lot of video essays because I'm really busy, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
Great. And Jonathan, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube. I'm sure Rachel will have it linked below. That's probably the best way to find my stuff that I'm working on. I actually just hit 100 videos on my YouTube channel. So there's a lot of content there if you're interested in movies and cartoons. And if you want to interact with me, I'm on Twitter at John J. North. I'm on pretty much all social media at John J. North, but I think I'm probably most active on Twitter.
Great. And yeah, I'll have all the links down below. So definitely check that out. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and on YouTube. And please let us know your comments and on Twitter or on the comment section what you think about these different events. We'd really appreciate it. And thanks again, you guys. And we will talk again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.